We have a main focused on workplace health, safety, and other issues. But mainly our work goes for the best interest of workers in Bangladesh. Thank you all, and yes.
Thank you, Sekender Ali Mina. Now I see, can we be introduced with Mr. Ahmed Siraj?
I think he is away from.
Okay, yeah. As I have already mentioned in my welcome speech that actually how we are connected with Ahmed Siraj. And we have also, yeah, Sharmin Akhtar, our fellow. I think she didn't introduce herself. Sharmin? Can you unmute your camera? Okay, walaikum salam.
This is Sharmin Akhtar from Moulvibazar in Sylhet Division. I have completed my graduation this year from the Political Science Department of Moulvibazar College. I have been doing research on women entrepreneurs since 2014 by being associated with eSheBee. Today, I feel very happy to be connected with you because here present my three honorable persons. Those are model of my educational life. Our chief guest, Mr. Abdus Shahid MP and Mr. Kamruzzaman Mia, principal of Kamalgonj Degree College. He is my principal. And Ahmed Siraj, he is an icon of my research skill. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sharmin. I think everybody here has been introduced. So as we have very time constraint, and as our chief guest mentioned that he has another program at 7:30. So now may I request Grace Mueller we have already been introduced with yourself as our Procheta Brahma introduced you a lot. So can we go to your presentation now?
Absolutely. Is it possible to be made a host or co-host so I can share my screen?
Yes, you can share. It's allowed to share.
Oh, okay, great. Great. Well, thank you again so much for having Julie and I. We're really happy and excited to be here, and it was great to meet everyone in the introduction and to see some old faces as well. So I'll just dive in, and then we'll really look forward to discussing afterwards. So I'll try to keep this short, but this presentation is based on my master's dissertation research that took place in Bangladesh in 2019, covering radical entrepreneurship that challenges caste-based discrimination and socio-structural constraints to inclusion in rural Bangladesh. So just for a little bit of context, this research took place in the Moulvibazar district. And so I'm sure you all are quite familiar with Bangladesh geography, but the field research interviews took place where the red dots are. So that's the region of Bangladesh that we were in, and the research focused in on the Shobdokor people, which have already been mentioned in this call. And this group of people were chosen because of their ethnic minority status, like we were discussing earlier, and particularly their status as a Hindu Dalit ethnic group, which marks their kind of discrimination or marginalization from society related to their religion. But there are also forms of discrimination in this group related to their space, So we were talking about earlier, Mr. Shahid was saying that a ceremony that he was at, Shobdokor people had to kind of sit outside, which is just one demonstration of the ways that they're removed from society in some ways. And they also experience economic forms of marginalization, so kind of being wedged or stuck in certain types of work because of their separation from society. And then women in this group are also kind of triply marginalized because of their status as a woman, which does not enable them to have the same freedoms as men. So there are some pictures on the screen here of our time in the Shobdokor community. And this, the bigger picture is doing a feedback session with one of the communities on some things that we found. And actually Shirazbai is in this photo, kind of the bottom left. But so within the Shobdokor community, I was specifically studying Udukta, or entrepreneurs. And these are some photos that kind of help to show what Udukta might be. So on the far left, we have a salon owner. And actually during one of my interviews, Mosharrof decided to get his hair cut. So this is a photo of Mosharrof. In the middle, there's a training happening for, I believe it was like purse weaving that day. And Mosharrof is also in this photo. And then on the right, it's a photo of, as you know, like a little shop. And this was not a Shobdokor owned shop, but just demonstrates kind of the type of work that a small business owner or an entrepreneur might do. So this study is on entrepreneurship, on Udukta, and kind of requires some clarification of terms. So what I don't mean by entrepreneurship is something that is strictly economic. So what entrepreneurship can be in development programs is something that is hyper financialized or kind of just about money. It might abstract a person from their social context, from their friends and family, and through that process kind of over individualize them and not see them as part of their community. And what researchers like Juli have found are that this type of entrepreneurship may be insufficient for addressing some of the social and political challenges that people face, that people like Shobdokor people might face in their contexts. And there are some examples of this research listed below, including Juli's research in Bangladesh. This research instead tries to look at entrepreneurship more broadly. So it returns to some of the earlier theories of entrepreneurship, and even kind of the origin of the actual word, which just means an individual undertaking. So it's not strictly economic in nature. And some of the key takeaways from looking at entrepreneurship more broadly is that an entrepreneur doesn't have to be confined to kind of only the economic dimensions. An entrepreneur is not only someone who makes money, but someone who can affect various aspects of society. So a wider view of entrepreneurship in the context of this research kind of creates new opportunities for who an entrepreneur might be in society and what type of impacts they might be able to have. And specifically, this research kind of narrows in on Frederick Barth, who studied entrepreneurship in the context of Norway, but his view of the entrepreneur as an agent of social change has kind of creates a new lens for who an entrepreneur is in development. And he says that the entrepreneur is fundamental to questions of social stability and change because the entrepreneur is associated with leadership and the social structure of the community, even viewed as a kind of broker between communities and cultures. And so therefore, he writes that someone who is interested in a dynamic study of society might look at the entrepreneur. So this is kind of the context of the entrepreneur of Udukta that we hold in this research, and the kind of mindset that I held as I approached the Shobdokor community and trying to observe what Udukta looked like. in that community. And so some of the research questions that I was pursuing are listed here, but kind of the three main aims are to observe entrepreneurship in a spontaneous forms. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but entrepreneurship outside of what someone tells you is entrepreneurship, but rather how is entrepreneurship being performed organically in society or in the Shobdokor community. Secondly, I was interested in how entrepreneurs are able to manipulate social and cultural capital in addition to economic capital. So how they can kind of address some of the social and cultural concerns through their work, in addition to just making more money, for example. And then a third aim was to study kind of the tipping point of social change. What is that point in time when an entrepreneur or Shobdokor villages. And these feedback sessions functioned to kind of share what we were finding here, what was right according to Shobdokor people, and if there were any further areas that we needed to focus in on, or maybe things that we may have interpreted wrongly. These spaces were created to try to get feedback and narrow our findings. So some of the key findings that came out of this research studying Shobdokor Udukta is that entrepreneurship enabled our Udukta, our entrepreneurs, to navigate inequality that they experienced in their communities within kind of three key dimensions. So socially, economically, and in a gender-based context. And I haven't really shared what the Udukta did that I studied, which maybe I should have done earlier, but I'll give some examples of what the Udukta did. So firstly, navigating economic dimensions. So entrepreneurship enabled someone like a vegetable seller to navigate economic opportunity versus stagnation or kind of not having work. So this vegetable seller had quite a long spell of unemployment, as well as a lot of changing of jobs, kind of coming in and out of both the formal and informal sectors. And in my research, we could share more about why the formal and informal sectors were not the right place for this entrepreneur for different reasons. But using his vegetable selling business, he was able to navigate new types of freedom that he wasn't able to find in either formal or informal work. And some of the strategies that this vegetable seller used to enable more freedom through work were the use of cooperative networks. So working with other vegetable sellers to mitigate some of the financial risk, as well as the control that being an Udukta, being a self-employed person, allowed over the seller's time and resources, which was something unique that he was not able to find in the informal sector, where he was kind of ruled by higher caste members, as well as the formal sector, which had less flexibility. So that's economically more freedom through certain strategies. Socially, Udukta really challenged certain tipping points where Shobdokor are not able to access the same spaces as mainstream society. So an example is a tea stall owner who is able to communicate, to socialize with upper level Hindu caste members, as well as more mainstream Muslim society members, because he worked in this tea stall. So the space of his business kind of broke down some of the caste-based barriers that this person might face kind of out in the normal world, where there isn't kind of a business to facilitate this type of connection. And one of the ways that this social inclusion was observed was through kind of the generation of a new type of personhood that some Udukta started to identify with. So some of the Udukta changed their last name from Shobdokor to Kor. And the way that they described this was that it kind of signaled that they were more developed and more modern even. And so not only are Shobdokor able to access different types of social connection, they're able to network with different people, but also this networking, this inclusion changed the way that they saw themselves with potential opportunity to have more confidence and really kind of shift the way that they view themselves and their communities in comparison with previous generations and types of work that, as discussed earlier, are drum beating in this community, as well as agricultural work from some previous generations. So thirdly, one of the Udukta that I observed was a woman, and she was a beautification business owner. And observing this woman was kind of filled with a lot of tension. There were a lot of times where she was not able to pursue her business, where her husband asked that she not collect any money, but maybe she could do it as a hobby. There were perceptions of her business as dangerous because she was a woman pursuing something that might create attention. And this woman kind of simultaneously wanted to be a good wife and obey kind of the cultural norms of her community. She didn't want to be seen as someone who was unruly, but she also enjoyed what she did and wanted to do this work. And so there was a tension there between kind of individual agency versus interdependence on the community. And her experience was marked by kind of trying to hold both ends. An academic writes about this as demonstrating a value plural aspiration of Bangladeshi women who live these multidimensional lives where they're not just one thing or the other, but are able to pursue different values all at once. And that was certainly seen in the beautification business owner. So contrasted with the theories of entrepreneurship that we discussed in the beginning that are perhaps overly financial, individualized, or abstract entrepreneurs from their context, entrepreneurship in the context of Udukta becomes radicalized through its ability to challenge some of the social norms and microstructures of power that formerly kind of kept Shobdokor people in one type of work or in one type of social setting, or Shobdokor women in one type of activity. And radical is not meant to mean radical in scale, but more so it's aligned with the theory that being radical is someone who harbors a deep felt desire for social political change. And this is seen in Shobdokor people's language, that they are freedom fighters, that they need to have a force, and that they're creating opportunity. And I think the term radical could use a little bit more unpacking, because it can be perceived so many different ways. But the intention is that radical means that that this person is approaching business with an intention to change their social standing, rather than just to make more money. So some of the development implications, and this is the last slide, so I'll be wrapping up, but some of the development implications of this research are viewing entrepreneurship spontaneously rather than in an institutionalized setting. So all of the entrepreneurs that I was able to observe were outside of a government program. They were not necessarily told what entrepreneurship should look like from a certain perspective, but were pursuing entrepreneurship on their own terms, within their own means and social systems. And so this might be really important if entrepreneurship is to challenge some social and political barriers that the entrepreneur is kind of creating their own business and tools to fight the types of power structures that may be holding them in place. I mean, this is kind of contrasted with entrepreneurship that already has the intention of what the right decisions and right steps are within a business. Secondly, Udukta kind of shapes change in a little bit of a different way. So instead of entrepreneurship creating instant transformation that you can report back to your donors, right away within 1 year, Udukta entrepreneurship may be slower and more of a generational process of change. The Udukta that we observed certainly already had new forms of freedom, access to new spaces, but they had been pursuing their businesses for years. And the female Udukta that we studied, still from the outside, her life really looked the same, but perhaps over time, her ability to learn these new skills, she's networking with some people outside of her community that might have generational implications that may not be seen immediately. And one of the ways this generational change might be seen is from this name change to core, which some of the younger generations had begun to adopt in 2019. And lastly, for listening, and I tried to keep this to 20 minutes. So thank you. This is a photo of us with some of our friends and Hannah, who is another researcher.
Yes, you have concluded your submission, Ms. Mueller.
I think, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
One thing, I forgot your name, Mr.
Mosharrof Hossain.
Oh, Mosharrof Hossain. And আমি আর ভাবতেছি আপনি কি বলে ইউকে নিবাসী। তো আমি একটু বাংলায় আপনার সাথে কথা বলে নেই because I have enough engagement, maybe right from 7:30 p.m. So I am following to join that occasion in nearest to my sector. I am in Uttara sector, number 10. I'll go to sector number 3, where I'll chair a meeting there, and everybody is waiting for me.
Yeah.
So I'm giving thanks to Ms. Grace Mueller, who has already sent her research issues, that is some papers to us from her. In this time constraint, I have seen some of important. That means her research issues were questionnaires, purpose of study, methodology, then data collection. These are the important issues for taking a research papers, how to get it done in favor of her or his subject. And the summary of findings, etc., discussion and conclusions. Mainly summary of findings is important to me, that she has explained from her research issues. So although also I am very much delighted to know about some of that participants, those who are very much the research work, the fellows, and they're getting their studies, and after their institutional studies, they have taken this job, and that means they will go for research and will get some degrees, additional degrees from their study. And most of them are from Moulvibazar district, and one of the girl who has referred me also, and Mr. Siraj and some others. So I thanks everybody, those who are in this virtual discussion or they are participating in this occasion. So Muela has already in brief described most of the things. So you know that this is my book, and perhaps you learned from somebody, even Shiraz can told it to you, and some teacher of the Shuza Memorial College, this, that. So I have already in a brief manner, but in my research books, there's a very big one, and which will be translated into English very shortly. But out of this, I have already published this paper unofficially, and this book in brief. So Shobdokor, or they have their what I should say, that is they're in our constitution. If you go through this constitution article 23A. Article 23A, where our government or honorable Prime Minister has already included some of the important issues. These marginal people should not be, I think, they should not be, what I should say, that they should not be neglected by any community, because they are human beings. They have their religion, their caste, and out of, Mr. Mosharrof, as many as 40 or 42 communities are there in the Hindu religious people, of which in top to bottom, this Dalit or the backward classes people, they are the Shobdokors. And the other also, say, Oblats, Barbars, this, that, they say. They are very much neglected in their religious, communities, those who are dominating the society like in Brahman or other castes or other communities. I have studied some of them through these books. I collected this book from one of the publishers. It as many as 42 books, 42 Gutros, Gutro. So today, I want to say something about these things. In our, schedule, the constitution, we have as many as 37 people. Those were the, scheduled people. And out of this, everybody is not getting the same status, right from the, the country's job opportunities in the education or in the others. But there are some quotas, say in the medical college or some universities like, Shahjalal Vigyan Projekti Vishwavidyalaya or Siraj University. Some quotas are there. Some Sabagan people, tea garden people, those were the backward classes of people, for their education, and after that, they should take some initiative how to become the entrepreneurship for themselves. Entrepreneurship is important. There is Udukta. That is, Moeller has already explained a lot of things about this Udukta. So I think these Uduktas, if we create them, and if we concern and discuss about the MDG, where the poverty issue is very much first issue. The eradication of poverty, MDG is one of the target or the goal. So since we have already, we have in the platform of, getting these MDG's 8 goals in the track. 50% of that track we have achieved. After 2015, our government has signed in the United Nations about SDG. So difference between the people, their income and their, lifestyles should not be a big difference. There should be some proportionate difference, maybe, but we should trying to bring it down. As because now the 22% of the poverty rate is there. So if we reach 2024 in the platform of middle income country, now we are in the track. We are going in the year 2021, our per capita income is more than $2,700, of which if we got to achieve the SDG, targets, so the goal, like 17 goals are there, as many as 68 targets are there. But the poverty issues are there, our environmental issues there, our education issues there, our child mortality is there, mother's mortality is there, everything within this SDG issue. So if we want to reduce all these things, our 5 years planning, 21 to 26, the 8th 5-year planning is going on. If we completed this 5 years planning, 26, the 8th 5 years planning, then we will get some picture about the difference of the earning income people will be minimized. There will be no great difference. After that, within 2030, 27 to, that is the next 5 years plan, that is 9th 5 years plan. Then we see up to 30, our SD is already, we have met most of the targets, as many as 68 targets are there. So I should not explain more and more because you know everything. And Moila is here. She is studying the Bangladesh issues, the perspective, and a particular community, which is very much low-income people in the community. They are low status in the community as a whole. They are, they cannot compete with the better job. But this government is already open to all. Even they can compete with the civil service, medical service, this, that, everywhere. Even a MLSS or a top level ranking any job. But till then, I have provided some of the Dalit like Baidyakor, Shobdokor in my constituency, in my district and my division. They are working in a government job, like MLSS, like orderly, like a clerical, say. The marginal people like women. Like women, we have organized some communities in my constituency. That means women are getting their sewing machine from the government under a project, as many as 20, 30 under the coverage of Ministry of Women and Welfare Affairs. So they are, they have already taken their lesson from some of the experts organized by the Women Ministry. Then they are giving lessons and training to the other jobless women in this Shobdokor community how to get these things and learn these things out of sewing system. So they can produce some product that is sell it out. If you go through, the number one. Today I have seen there the women are organizing some of the, the carpets, they're making carpets, they're making sarees, making some sort of ornamental, items. So there's
Yes, technical problem. Yeah.
Okay, my daughter is assisting me.
Okay.
So I shall not continue more. So in brief, I want to conclude.
Actually, we have to
conclude.
Sir, sorry to disturb you. We have to conclude by 8:30 maximum, and our fellows will have some interaction also.
Waiting to share your food. They should get.
Yeah.
So, now I am going to conclude, as because I am advising all the fellows, they should go forward to take some lessons and ideas, and will produce something. Next community, next generation, by which the country will go forward, and we can fix up a platform in the global area. That Bangladesh is one of them, where discrimination issues in respect of entrepreneurship, however, or whatever may be the community or may not be, or religion, will not be the issue. So thanks to you, Mr. Mosharrof, and thanks to Siraj, who has encouraged me to join this occasion. And as because I am a little bit concerned with the Dalit communities of my constituency because of my research work, by which the University of Janginagar has given me this opportunity. I got a scholarship from them, which I utilize accordingly. But 4 years' time, in the age of 66, 7, I started this studying, and I got my degree. So thank you very much. And eSheBee is very, I think, interesting name, and I am convinced to eSheBee. So if you come to my constituency next time, you can organize a seminar there, and physically, then we can share ourselves. And your fellows will be there. I think most of them are very much, I think they are girls. I think they will go forward accordingly. We should overcome the barrier of our, some sort of social bindings. So thanks everybody. Thanks to you, as you are the moderator. I think you are doing very well. And please pray to Almighty for our success and for our country. And we are very much conscious about COVID pandemic. We want to wash our hands with all antiseptics, sanitizers. We use masks, and we advise everybody to keep distance from each other to for reducing the community transmission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We are so happy that actually we got your busy time. So now, as we have very limited time, sir, if it's possible, at least on the way as you are going, so if you are be with us and listen to others, I hope that we will be more happier.
Yes. I'll open my mobile.
Exactly.
And with the data.
So,
data process.
Yes. And
even you can allow anybody right now, so I can listen them, her or he.
Exactly. So Grace Mueller inboxes us in chat box some of her research questions for further. Actually, we have lots of opportunities for doing research, continuing it. So I hope that in near future, we will be working together. So now I would like to request Mr. Ahmed Siraj to give his very short speech on the report as it is shared by Grace Mueller. So Ahmed Siraj bhai, if you want to speak in Bangla, so you can do it.
No problem. It is our priority.
Exactly.
লাগছে যে আমাদের এই আলোচনায় আমাদের মাননীয় আমাদের শিক্ষক আমাদের যুদ্ধ জন্য যিনি এখানে শব্দকর কমিউনিটি 2-2.5 মাস এখানে নিজে এলাকায় এসে কাজ করেছেন। শব্দকরের যে স্কিললেস যে তাদেরকে উদ্যোক্তা হিসেবে, বিশেষ করে ইন্টারভিউটা তাদেরকে কর্ম দক্ষতা গড়ে তোলার জন্য নানাভাবে কাজের সাথে যুক্ত করার জন্য তার মোশাররফ ভাই নিজেও এখানে এসেছেন। শব্দকর্মী এখানে উদ্যোগ নেওয়া যায়, তাদেরকে এত বেকার এই কাজটা তিনি করেছেন। আজকে মনে হচ্ছে উন্নয়নের একটা নতুন ধরনের ধারা তৈরি হলো। আবার আর বিশেষ করে মোশাররফ ভাই এখানে লেগে আছেন এই জনগোষ্ঠী কিভাবে তাদের অগ্রগতি নিশ্চিত করা যায়, তারা যাতে আগে এই অবস্থাটা পরিবর্তন করা যায়। এটা মনে করি আমি আজকে আমাদের যে কনসালটেন্ট আলোচনা ডায়ালগটা খুবই আগামী কর্মকাণ্ডকে শব্দকর জনগোষ্ঠীকে এগিয়ে নেওয়ার ক্ষেত্রে আমাদের আলোচনা যে এটা খুবই সার্থক হবে বলে আমি আশা করি।
So ধন্যবাদ Siraj bhai. As we have some technical issues, I hope that there are some network problem.
এটা তো আজকে মানে
জি জি
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
Siraj bhai, I hope that you will write at least one article on it, and we all will read you. ঠিক আসলে কারিগরি সমস্যার কারণে আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না আপনাকে।
আর নেটের এত ডিস্টার্ব খুব ডিস্টার্ব করে যায়।
জি জি ধন্যবাদ Ahmed Siraj ভাইকে। So now may I request the fellows, if you want to ask any question to our presenter, especially Grace Mueller, if you have any question, we all together have only 5 minutes. So you can inbox in chat box if you have any question, or if someone want to ask any question, you can raise hand instantly. So yeah, we are waiting for inbox. So you can send your question to the chat box. So by this time, may I request Mr. Sekender Ali Mina. So Mr. Sekender Ali Mina is the Executive Director of Safety and Rights Society, which is one of the our multi-stakeholder platforms associate agency organization. So we are working together. So I hope that Mr. Sekender Ali Mina, so may I request you, so if you just in very short, if we can hear from you. Sekender Ali Mina, bhai, are you there? Okay. Dear fellows, if you want to ask more question, you just inbox. I got some questions. So we will read the question later. So, okay, now, if we are not able to connect with Sekender Ali Mina bhai, so now may I request Dr. Juli Qermezi Huang. So we are expecting your what I say academic discussion on kind of on the presentation of Grace Mueller. Dr. Juli Huang.
Sure, thank you, Mosharrof bhai. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces here. Great to see you all again, and also to meet some new ones as well. Thanks especially to Grace for such a wonderful and insightful presentation. I just want to share with everyone else that her research dissertation that she submitted to the University of Edinburgh on the basis of this research was very highly reviewed and achieved a distinction by her reviewers at the university, in part because it's based on such rich data and such insightful analysis and recommendations. And so there's so much to say about it, but for time purposes, I might just highlight one main takeaway from me. And this relates to the balance that we seek to achieve in social science research. And that is a balance between looking at personal agency, so the ability of us as individual human beings, you, I, anyone else, to act in our lives, and between the more structural constraints, such as the ones that Grace mentioned, like caste or class or religious or gender-based discriminations, or lack of access to resources, education, jobs, and these other structural constraints. And so we're always trying to think about the level of the individual, the single person, in a context of these broader constraints, and trying to understand that my actions as an individual, your actions as an individual, are shaped by the context around us, by these structural issues, but that our individual actions also have the ability to change those broader structural constraints. And so I think that leads to one of the most important policy recommendations that Grace offers us through her research. First for NGO project design, but also for governmental policies, is to always thinking about how we can help individuals succeed and pursue their objectives. And at the same time, also how we can change the broader structures that prevent people from pursuing their plans and dreams for the future. And always thinking about these two different dynamics of the individual and the structure, and how they relate to each other. And so I think that's something that's really important for thinking about any initiative that seeks to alleviate poverty. And Grace's contribution to this knowledge and this set of recommendations for policy is very important. So thank you, Grace, and thank you, Mosharrof Hossain, for pulling this together and allowing us to discuss these issues. And thanks to all the eSheBee staff and research fellows, especially, who are continuing their research projects now about how COVID is influencing and affecting the lives of many women entrepreneurs across Bangladesh. And thanks as well to our chief guest, Abdus Shahid. That was a wonderful discussion that you presented with us, and the other guests as well, Mr. Kamruzzaman, Mina, Ahmed, Siraj, and Sekender, Mina. It's been wonderful to meet all of you, and thank you. I'll pass it along to Mosharrof Hossain and the fellows if they have other questions and points to discuss. I think you're still on mute, Mosharrof Hossain.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Juli. We have got some questions, especially these questions are to Grace Mueller. Actually, you know, Grace Mueller did researches in our community for a couple of months, and our fellows actually, they studied mostly Grace Mueller's profile and also her report to eSheBee, and also they observed the presentation today. So based on these three resources, actually, we requested our fellows to have any question if there is any. So one question came actually, how did you build relationship with all types of people in the community you work for? You did research. How did you build a relationship with them? And another question came to me, that is actually, please share your most memorable memory and worst memory working in Bangladesh. And third question, we got, what steps can be, according to you, taken for economic development of the Shobdokor community in Moulvibazar? I hope you already replied with some of future research questions and others. So you may also reply verbally if you want. And there is another question. You worked in several places. So how about the difference between working with eSheBee and other places? Then another question. Okay, that's all. So that's all. So I just summarized and throw to you. I hope you have taken note. So now, Grace Mueller, it's over to you to just talk to our fellows regarding their questions. Well,
yes, thank you. Those are great questions. I was writing them down, so I'll just go through. So for building relationships, I think you all will have a different research experience than I would, for the better, because I am foreign. I drew a lot of attention in like certain villages, and I think the best way to build relationships is to spend time in communities, as much time as you can, and just seek to get to know and be friends with the people that you want to learn from. And I think that in some ways that was easier for me because people were interested in what I was doing and why I was in Bangladesh. But in other ways, it was hard for me to observe sometimes their natural life. So I tried to just spend as much time in the communities as possible to become as normal as I could. And I think you all would be able to do that. Maybe they'd know, you're from Dhaka or you're from like an urban area. And so they'd be kind of interested in that. But I think just spending as much time as you can and trying to become normal so that you can, because research is just learning and asking questions and listening. And so if you see them as your friends, as people who are doing research with you, really, because they're giving you a lot of information, then it's just trying to spend as much time as possible, is I think what I would say. The best and worst experiences, the best I wrote in the chat is just the hospitality that I and the other researchers experienced in every place that we went. Even houses that didn't have a lot were just offering us like really sweet treats, and I love sweet things. There was really no worst experience, but maybe just the unpredictable nature of the weather, especially in monsoon season. So one time Mosharrof and I were going for a walk, and it just all of a sudden was raining so hard that we went into someone's house that we didn't know and just sat there for a while and talked to two girls who were learning. I don't know if it was math, but they were studying something. And it turned out to be a good experience, actually. For economic development, there would be so many things to say about how to economically support this community, but maybe kind of building on the insights of studying entrepreneurship in a spontaneous, grassroots kind of way, I would suggest to support what's already happening. So not to try to start anything new, but again, to observe the behaviors that Shobdokor people are already pursuing and thinking about how can we support the businesses that they're already trying to start, and that align with the skills that they currently have and the networks that they currently have, because they are trying to do a lot to create small forms of income generation. So observing and supporting what exists. And finally, the difference on working with eSheBee. I would say the relational depth that at least the people that we came across at eSheBee sought to have with the people that they work with, and also in a research setting, feels really unique, as well as the flexibility. And this might be kind of more common to Bangladesh, but to me, it was really different to environments that I've worked in, just that things can be so flexible. That a plan doesn't have to be held so tightly. And if something happens, you kind of just figure it out and work around it. And I think that type of flexibility is really valuable in a research context when, as we said, with the rain or just many other circumstances, things usually don't go as planned. So that flexibility that eSheBee has and offers its workers, from my experience, was really different and great. I don't know if Julie or anyone has anything to add to that from their own experience. I know we're all researchers on the call, or most of us, so I'm sure there's lots that everyone could add, but tried to keep it short.
Thank you, Grace. I think Julie, if as Grace referred, so Julie may share if you anything if you want.
Sure. Just to echo one point that Grace already mentioned, and it's work that all of the eSheBee Research Fellows are already doing by collecting life stories and COVID stories from women entrepreneurs. It's so important to listen. We are researchers. We may think that we have answers sometimes, but actually the truth and the real experiences come from the people that we work with in the research context. And so listening and paying attention to people's stories and taking their stories seriously as important is so crucial. So carry on the good work, everyone.
Thank you. So, dear fellows, we have, do you have any time? 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes? Let me check. It's almost, it's already 8:30. So, if you have any quick question, do you have anything? Or we may say, Sekender Ali Mina, bhai, are you there? I think no. Okay, so already our chief guest left, and thank you all for joining today. And I hope that in near future we'll be continuing different series of interactive sessions like this. Actually, since last one from Hannah Geary's session, we have become a little bit formal. So I hope in near future we will do more formal interactive sessions, and later on we want to do one plenary sessions with all. And I would like to request Dr. Juli Huang to take it seriously in finally when all the fellows from University of Edinburgh, and also some researcher from Dhaka University and State University, they also did some researches. So we have some collaborations locally also, and we have some collaborations in India also with some institutes. So they are also doing some researches. So I hope that around 10 to 12 sessions will be conducted, and upon that we want to do one plenary sessions when I hope that our policymakers and lawmakers, they will be there. So we are planning like this. I hope that you all will be cooperating with us. And thank you for, again, Grace, especially to Grace and Julie, to be with us. Thank you. See you later. And I hope that in near future, you all for choose any of your research topics for your PhD and postdoctoral in our country, and especially in the our ethnic minority or backward people. So we will be happy to host you, and we will be happy to work with you. Thank you very much.